Alright, let's start from the beginning. This is a 1989 F150 XL with the 5.0 and a 4-speed manual. I bought this kind of about the time I started in college and drove it for about a year. Started having some running issues, and I parked it, bought something else, and started driving that other thing. I still haven't figured out what the running issue is because it's intermittent. It'll start running perfectly fine some days, other days it doesn't want to run worth the shit. So it'll start and it'll idle fine. If you get on it, it'll spit and sputter and pop and crack and do all sorts of goofy stuff. So I have yet to figure that out. The issue is that every time I have time to diagnose it, it wants to run fine. So that's been difficult. I have kind of jumped ahead on what I want to do with it, so I figured I'd better stop and at least start you guys somewhere. It's got a flatbed on it, if you could call it that, made out of deck boards and a 4x4 kind of frame. The worst part about it is you got to lift up one of the boards to put fuel in it. I'll show you that. You can see I already got it rigged up here, but here is the issue that I face. Got to lift that up to put fuel in it. I'm not a big fan of that. Also, the back of this is questionable at best, so we're gonna try and fix this thing up and make it a little more usable. Interior is pretty decent. It's just the XL, so manual windows, just plastic handles, nothing fancy, no chrome. It's just got standard radio in there. No tape deck or CD or nothing like that. It's way too old for CDs. Odometer has 29,561. Pretty confident that's 129,561. But even if it is that, the pedals look pretty good for 129. So I'm not confident in the mileage, but I don't really care about that. Dash is fine, no cracks. Looks pretty decent. The seat has had this cover on it, just like every truck from the late 80s, early 90s. The seat underneath it is in really nice shape. There's a couple stains and stuff from only God knows what, but we'll get to that when we get there. Stain here looks like just dirt and grease. Feels like we'll be able to get that out. Headliner is held up by none other than the light in the middle that doesn't work, of course. Sliding rear window, manual key case like they all had. Doesn't have AC. Heater works okay. I replaced the heater core when I was in college because it started leaking, and then one day it just refused to blow hot. The paint is custom rattle can that was done way before I got a hold of it, and I just this truck's not worth repainting, at least not yet. The truck is in awesome shape as far as the body goes. The rockers are 100% there, which anybody in the Midwest knows is amazing. The floor panels on the bottom side of the cab are in just as good a shape. The tires are, I don't remember what size offhand, but they're Hankook Dynapro AT2s or Hankook RF11s, depending on what part of the world you're in. So the goal is to rip the bed off, see what we got going underneath there. There's only the front tank. The rear tank was taken out a long time ago. So let's get going on that. Got it suspended at this point. Taillights are still hooked up, but I'll probably just go ahead and snip those because those are cheap and easy to replace and to figure out again. Got some custom wiring going on under here, as you can imagine from the look of the bed. That white box was on it when I bought the truck. So I really haven't done much other than a water pump and a heater core on the truck in the time that I've owned it. Everything else has just kind of worked until it didn't want to run right. So apparently on this April day we're getting snow. Love Minnesota. So let's get this bed off. Like I said, I'm just going to cut these wires because these are easy enough to figure out later on. And as of right now, it is extension cord running to the lights. So I think we can do a little better than that. And random grounds everywhere. Well, it moved. I don't know if it moved in the direction I wanted, but it moved. All right, we have liftoff. So like I said, it's kind of a 4x4 frame for the bed. Just two 4x4 rails running down and then 2x6s across it. And they are deck boards. It does okay. I bolted on these little loops just to strap stuff to it, and it worked okay. But as you can imagine, if it's just a single 2x6 screwed onto a 4x4, the ones with these loops on them, eventually, you could see it a lot better when it was on the truck, but these boards here had a nice bow to them, because every time you pull up on here, it wants to go down in the middle. So those were never flat. And as for filling up with gas, if you had anything on this panel, you couldn't flip it up to put gas in it. And that was an issue as you use it as a truck. You know, you have stuff on the bed, so that causes issues. So I want to get this off and try and figure out something else, a better way to use it, better way to put a bed on there. So underneath here, that spare tire is held on by a hope and a prayer. Some crusty chain, bungee cord that probably dry rotted 10 years ago. But the cross members, that's not factory. The cross members on the frame look okay. They're actually pretty good shape for an 89. And like I said, I mean, this frame is in immaculate shape for being a 1989 in the Midwest. It was not originally from Minnesota, as you can imagine. Otherwise, it would have just disintegrated 20 years ago. So there's the front tank. That's the only one in it. The rear tank is missing. Straps are there, so maybe we'll find out a way to put one back in there. The valve is still there for switching. Where's it at? I don't remember right now, but the lines are still here for the old tank. And I know the valve works because if you switch it and you try starting it, it pulls a vacuum through the valve, and the valve refuses to switch back to the front tank until you open up those lines, because they've got a vacuum on them, so the valve doesn't want to switch. So I know the valve works, and I know
the fuel pump is strong enough to pull a vacuum at least. So that's good to know. It's a good start. Sway bars still even there. I usually just cut those on most of the vehicles I own. The exhaust is more or less straight piped, but that's custom. Right now it's way louder than it should be. I'll show you why that is. When this was sitting out at the farm waiting for somebody to rescue it, i.e. waiting for me to get the time to come back to it, somebody decided they needed the Y-pipe where it comes into one more than me, so they decided to cut that off. So that's wonderful. I gotta fix that up. Then it just runs the exhaust there. But here's a decent look at underneath the truck. Again, it's a Midwest truck. At least it has been the past couple of years. And it's doing okay as far as the rest goes. Alright, let's get this bed swung off to the side and set it down out of the way. Alright, so now we got a naked frame. Get a better look at everything. You can see the original color of the truck was that tan color, which I kind of wish they had just left it. Not sure what was wrong with that color, because you can see it everywhere. Pokes through everywhere. Not like the cab was rusting out. The worst parts of the cab are here. There's a little bit of a dinger. They half-assed attempted to fill it with some filler, but it doesn't look that great. They should have just left it. I think this cab corner is fine. It's all there. Again, rockers on this side too are just amazing. Floor panels, awesome. If we look at the other cab corner, I think that's the one that has had a little work done. Yeah, you can tell there's some filler there, but on the back side of it is still clean. So I'm not sure if they got hit here or what, but the steel is fine. This is a little crustier than the other side, but for Midwest, again, not bad at all. So definitely a truck worth saving, so that's the goal. Those wondering what it sounds like with more or less open headers, we'll go ahead and pull it in.
Glad it's a single cab because with an 8-foot bed, I don't have much more room in the garage for this. But that's what she sounds like. It's pretty obnoxious. So we'll get that fixed up. It sounds decent. It's got some rasp to it when it's hooked up with just that little can that's on there, that guy there. That sounds pretty decent. It's got a decent rasp coming up and on decel. So eventually we'll get that hooked back up, but right now I want to start figuring out what I want to do with this bed. I don't know if I want to do a steel frame and wood deck or steel frame aluminum deck, or I'm not sure what exactly I want to do. If you have any ideas, go ahead and leave them down in the comments. Also not sure if I'm going to leave this bumper as it is, because it is cobbled. Frame ends here. Nothing is bolted on with some interesting bracketry. On both sides. So, not sure if I'm going to leave that. It's solid, but doesn't look the greatest. So we'll figure out what we're going to do with that. Alright, now that we got it in the garage, tell me what you guys want to see, what you don't want to see. I got to get material for the bed yet. I don't have that. I'm not totally sure how I want to design it, if I want to put fender wells in or if I just want it to be totally flat. If you guys have opinions on that, let me know. The engine bay, like I said, I have yet to figure out the issue, because every time I go to try and figure it out, it runs fine, like it does right now. So, if anybody knows anything about these early EFIs spitting and sputtering when you give it gas but it idles fine, certainly let me know. Other than that, that'll do it for this one. Let me know what you think of the truck. Let me know if you have any ideas. I'd love to hear them. As for now, this is what we got.